Hello, hello. My name is Kim Addis. I am the president and founder of Frame of Mind Coaching and the co-founder of the Journal That Talks Back. You have just joined the Frame of Mind Coaching podcast with my awesome, amazing, and incredible daughter and co-host, Fernekotlyar. Fernie, welcome.
Hello. These introductions. Wow, wow, wow. Thank you.
How's it going? What's up? What's new? What's happening?
Good. I'm excellent. I am in Montreal for the weekend, spending time with my awesome, amazing, and incredible boyfriend. So I'm happy.
Happy Fernie means happy Kim. So good, good. Are you doing anything exciting this weekend?
Actually, yeah, for New Year's, he bought us a helicopter ride over the city. So we're going to do that tomorrow, which I'm really looking forward to.
You're doing it tomorrow?
Yeah.
Before you come back?
Yeah.
Oh, exciting. So not everybody loves helicopter rides. So I hope for you it's smooth sailing all the way.
I hope so too. I'll make sure to take a gravel beforehand.
I think that's a good idea. All right. So what are we discussing today?
So today I wanted to talk about practical tips for networking.
Okay.
I know that in my industry and academia, people aren't always the most socially fluid. They don't necessarily feel that comfortable talking to people, talking to random strangers. Maybe in other sectors it's easier, but just practical tips for kind of getting to know people and kind of having that in their back pocket when you're looking for jobs or whatever it may be. I think it's relevant for everyone.
Okay. So I don't know if you know, but in the olden days, many, many years ago, I was probably one of the best networkers a person could find. So much
Have
so,
things changed?
I've lost my edge. But so much so that I won an award for being one of the 50 most influential women in the real estate industry.
Really?
And I
When were you
really
in
think
the real estate industry?
we had a product that we built called the Real Estate
Ah,
Simulator.
yes.
And the Real Estate Simulator was an assessment that we used to help the real estate industry with their recruiting, retention, and training of their real estate professionals or real estate agents. So I used to go to every single event known to man in the real estate industry, all the conferences. And I used to have a trade show booth. I used to try to get speaking engagements. But I would walk down the hall and I would know everybody. And
Wow.
it was incredible. It's interesting because just the other day I had a speaking engagement at Weeby. Weeby is a women's business enterprise. And I knew a lot of people, but it reminded me of the real estate days when
Do you
my
miss it?
networking skills were on fire. And I was with Jonathan, who is my co-founder with the Journal That Talks Back, and I told him I feel like an older, sorrier, sadder version of myself, but
Oh
I was still
no.
pretty good. Oh yeah, I was like, it used to be amazing. But let me give you some practical skills, some
All
practical
right.
tips. So the
Love
first
them.
thing you want to do is you want to know who's going to be there.
Oh, I really
It's
thought you were going to say put on makeup.
That's a good idea too, but not for everybody.
Look good. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
you got to look good. Sure, absolutely. But before you look good, you got to figure out who's going to be there. And so it's really important for you to look at the agenda, look at the event, understand who are the sponsors, who are the speakers, who are the attendees, who are the critical players. And you could generally extract that by looking at the like the event agenda, looking at the website, looking at the sponsor page, looking at even some of the articles that may have been written around the subject. If there are pre-event podcasts, you want to pay attention to who's speaking on those podcasts, what they're speaking about. So you want to pick out some critical names, understand who they are, what they do, and why you might want to get to know them. So number one is get to know the lay of the land. Number two is now we have the capacity to reach out to these people on LinkedIn and get connected to them even before the event. So it's really a good idea to find, create a list of your key players, go to LinkedIn, and then, make a contact with these people with a message that says, hey, I'm really looking forward to meeting you at this event, or I'm going to be attending your speaking engagement or your presentation. Can't wait to hear what what you have to say about X, Y, or Z. Um, in some cases, you might say, hey, I have a few questions for you. Would you be okay to meet for a few minutes after your speaking engagement? Whatever it is, right? Like, so what you're doing is you're connecting, you're making them know your name, you're making them see your face even before you get there. So you're making a connection ahead of time. Ideally, you're setting up appointments.
Hmm.
Right? So you might reach out to them and say, hey, do you have a few minutes for me? Can we, meet up for coffee? I want to share something I'm working on, or I want to ask you about your initiative with X, Y, or Z, or I'd really like to learn about how you achieved this and this and that. Whatever it is, doesn't really matter. Okay,
Okay.
so yep.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was going to ask about kind of power dynamics. So, like, what I'm familiar with is kind of academic conferences, but I'm sure that it applies in a lot of industries in the sense that, like, if you're a student, you're a new student, let's say first, second year PhD, and you're reaching out to professors or postdocs, people who are really influential in the field, who have written papers that you read on a regular basis.
Yeah.
How do you kind of get over that hump of feeling like, why would they want to talk to me? I'm just a student. I, don't have anything really to contribute. I don't know what to say to them. Like,
So
I think,
yeah, so I think that one of the things that I used to go in with, and I was in a very similar position because I was young at the time and I wanted the attention of specific brokers because those people were my target clients. And I was, a salesperson. What do they want for me, right? And so what you want to do is say, hey, I read your article about X, Y, and Z on the subject of, and I'd really like to learn about whatever, or I'd love for you to share with me how you achieved. And so the focus is on them. It's not
mm,
on you.
yeah, but even if you're like, someone like a young person trying to talk to someone who has like a 50-year career, who's
Doesn't
kind of
matter.
top at the top spectrum, like if they're giving a presentation, they're like the keynote speaker. I'm sure they'd be filled with appointments. How do you?
Don't assume that, actually. Don't assume that. That's not actually true.
Well,
And I will tell you something else. Enthusiasm beats everything. So go in prepared. Know who you're targeting. Know something about them. Know who they are, what they belong to, what they've done, what they've achieved, what matters to them. Go in prepared. And
okay.
understand enthusiasm, energy is always attractive, especially when you're enthusiastic about their work.
Yeah. So how do you know that you're prepared enough?
There's no such thing as enough. I mean, you can never be prepared enough. So we're not trying to get prepared all the way to the end of the world of preparation. We're trying to know enough to have a conversation,
Mm.
to say, I learned X, Y, and Z about you. That's really interesting to me. Here's why. Here's what I'm working on, and here's what I'd love to learn about you. And you're going in asking questions. You're interested. You're curious. So let's go one step further. Again, enthusiasm is really, really critical, especially when you're going to an event and you can pre-identify the people you want to talk to. But let's say that's not the case. Let's say you can't pre-identify. Let's say, you're invited to some networking event and nobody tells you who's going to be there in advance, because that happens all the time, right? So now what do? A lot of people feel uncomfortable about that. They're like, well, who do I talk to? How do I approach people? What kind of conversation do I have? And the concept is everybody has an agenda, everybody's there to sell their own idea or their own product or their own, right? And so what I want you to do is think, what would be a win for me? What would be a win for me? And a win might be to connect with one person whereby you have a follow-up meeting, a follow-up coffee date, a follow-up Zoom conversation, one meeting that has a follow-up. So now how do you get that done? How do you get that done? And we often think that we go to a networking event to share with people what we're up to so that they become interested in us. And I want you to reverse the intention. Okay, so when you go to a networking event, the idea is to be interested in them, interested in whatever they're struggling with, interested in whatever they're working on, interested in their projects, interested in their objectives, their goals. Because if I can help them with their objectives and goals, now I have value. But I can't do that unless I learn what their objectives and goals are.
Absolutely.
So for me, for example, we're doing a lot of work in the area of recruiting and retention, right? The journal that talks back is a huge component of helping young people deal with their emotional volatility, which exists, and is a huge source of departures. That's why people leave. They experience friction and they feel super uncomfortable, so it's easier for them to just quit. Or something they perceive is a wrongdoing to them, they just quit.
Find
So
another job.
they just go find another job, or they're afraid to ask for a raise, so they just quit. So there's all these emotionally triggered reasons why people are leaving organizations. And the Journal That Talks Back is there to circumvent that, to help young people approach or deal with these emotionally triggered events in a more appropriate way. So I have a solution, I think, that will mitigate some of the, not all, but some of the departures we're seeing, the huge amount of turnover we're seeing in organizations. But I don't know if that's a problem for everybody. So I might go into a room and say, hey, tell me about what it's been like for you this past couple of years with recruiting and retention. Is that an issue for you? Well, tell me what you've been seeing. Tell me where the struggle is. Tell me what you've been trying for recruiting, but then what are you seeing with respect to turnover? Why are people leaving? And so the person's telling me about what's going on for them, why it's a problem, what their recruiting goals might be. Right? So they're sharing their story with me. And then I might say, well, I might have something that could help you. Would you be open to a follow-up conversation? And then they might say yes or no.
So the key
Right?
is that you're looking to hear other people's stories and see if it matches with you, rather than tell everybody your story for them to decide whether it matches with them. So you kind of hold the power a little bit more.
Well, it's not about power. It's about, I'm not shoving my ideas down anybody's throat until it has relevance. If I can serve somebody, I will. And if not, that's okay too. I can still connect with people. And by the way, connections are a very interesting thing, because you could connect with someone who is not your target at all, who could be a colleague, who could be the gateway for a new introduction. Right. So like years and years ago, when I first started Frame of Mind coaching, I went to an event and I had a friend there. She wasn't I wasn't trying to sell anything to her, but she was a friend, right? I knew her from a long time ago. She wasn't a buyer or anything like that. But, we hung out because it was fun and she was like a cool person. And, we were walking down the street and she introduced me to someone who then became a client. Hey, Dave, you need to meet Kim. I know that you're looking for a coach. You should talk to Kim.
Oh,
right.
nice.
And that's the other component of networking, is to make friends, is to build a world where people know what you're up to and can lean on you, even if there's no hidden agenda. Again, another example, yesterday, or was it yesterday? 2 days ago, I was at this Weeby conference. Great. I found a whole bunch of people I know. And then I left the conference. And shortly after that, I got a message from, a good friend of mine who was still at the conference saying, hey, I just spoke to this woman from this organization and she really needs your services.
Very nice.
Right. So you should connect with her. Okay, great. So networking is about opening doors, even if you don't think the door is necessarily relevant. So you're there with excitement, enthusiasm, openness, warmth, engagement. You're not there bored going, oh, nobody can help me. This is stupid. I'm just going to lean against the wall.
Well, I think
have a drink.
Kind of one of the criticisms that I've heard of networking that people kind of don't like about it is this idea that, as you mentioned, everyone seems to have an agenda. Yeah. So coming in with that this perception that everybody wants something from me. They all want me to buy something. They all want something from me. It feels for a lot of people negative, and I guess kind of not manipulative, but I don't know what the right word is to express that feeling. So how do you get over that emotional hump?
First of all, is it okay to have an agenda? Of course it's okay to have an agenda. Everybody's there to achieve a certain specific goal. What if we could help people achieve their goals? So instead of ducking from somebody's agenda, we say, hey, what's your goal here? Maybe I can help you achieve it. I don't know if I'm your target market, but I know a lot of people. Maybe I can introduce you to the right people. What's your agenda? Now it's on the table. It's not so hidden. You don't have to like hide from it. So ask people, help people reach their goals. That is the epitome of networking right there. If you're a person who can help others reach their goals, you're the queen of networking.
Is that the top number one secret?
Number one secret, help people reach their goals. Help people connect with other people that they're looking to connect with. So know everybody.
Yeah, fair enough. And so so we kind of tackled the issue of this agenda, but what if now you're like, okay, I'm ready to help people, but I'm just not a social person. Like too many people stress me out. I don't know what to say. This is awkward. I don't know how to deal with. You don't have to
say anything. Don't say anything. Don't come in with a script. Go in with curiosity.
But I guess there's this idea that questions may come naturally to some people, like you, maybe me, but they don't come naturally to everybody. Conversations.
So go in prepared. Write down 10 questions that you can go in with. Learn your questions.
But I guess it's more of the idea of feeling uncomfortable. It's like you are a very social person. You are good with people. And so going to networking events is easy for you. But what about people who have anxiety, social anxiety, whatever it may be, that kind of emotionally hinder them from being excited, being at ease? How do we kind of get over this? Or not necessarily get over, but what's a tool to kind of deal with this discomfort?
I think like we're talking about networking, like, killing it at networking and how you go in. And maybe what we need to do is for the person who feels completely uncomfortable and socially, what did you call it? Socially
anxious,
then what we do is we create a different goal for that person. And the different goal for that person might be, hey, your goal in this session is to meet one person and say hello and just say, like, what company are you with? Oh, are you in this department? I am too. Right? So it's to make one connection. It's to like practice the process of saying hello and introducing yourself and asking about another person.
Okay. Very nice.
Right? So we're lowering the requirement per se for someone who's socially anxious. And so what we're doing is we're changing what is a win for each person.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? So for me, the best networking I could do is actually being on stage. So, right? So people can hear what I have to say and they know who I am. And, they can make a decision about whether or not there's a match. I mean, it's not ideal actually, because then they have to come and approach me. Right? But at least I'm speaking to many people at once.
That's true.
Yeah. So
hitting a big target.
Right. But that's not necessarily the goal for everybody.
Yeah.
The goal for another person could be, hey, you're sitting in an event, you're listening to a speaker, just say hello to the person sitting beside you. You could say something like, hey, the coffee's good, right? Like something really simple just to open that door. It doesn't even have to be work related. You could say, I love your shoes.
That's a good one. Easy.
Right? Easy. It doesn't have to be like super, super strategic. It just doesn't. Be warm, be friendly, connect with people on a human level. Like again, the other day I was at this event and I saw this woman's hair was like one piece was on the other side, right? It was misplaced. And so I just reached up and fixed her hair. So what did I do? I just stepped into her world. Right? I stepped into her world, and I connected with her on a personal level to make sure she looks good at this event.
Did she appreciate it?
Of course.
It's good.
Of course.
So if we were to kind of sum up this idea of top few networking tips, from what I gather, kind of number one is to come in prepared if possible, get to know the players, get to know the field, see who's who and what's what, so you know who you want to talk to. And number two, big tip number two is to see who you can help. That's the goal rather than kind of the other way around of who can help me. I mean, I guess it's a similar question, but framed in a different way. And then change your goals based on you as a person. You don't have to have the same goals as everybody around you. So if networking may not be for you, take baby steps, meet one person, and accomplish that goal. So
you nailed it. That's it.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I think this was really, really helpful.
It's totally practical, right?
Yeah.
For those of you who are listening, if you're uncomfortable with networking, I hope you pick something up from this podcast. And if there's something else going on in your life where you're like, hey, I really need to achieve this goal and I'm struggling to achieve it and I could use some help, then go to Frame of Mind Coaching, set up some time to talk, and let's discuss that problem. We're happy to help you in any way we can. It's frameofmindcoaching.com. Fernie, how do people reach you if they want to share with you a subject that we should maybe cover on our podcast?
Yeah, I'd love to hear it. Any ideas are more than welcome. So please email me at fernekotlyar@live.com. That's FERNEKOTLYAR@live.com.
And I am Kim at frameofmindcoaching.com. We will see you next week. Have a great week, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.